I've got our very special and honored guest on the line with us today, and the person of Dr. Jim Garrow. Dr. Garrow, how are you, sir?
Pastor Manning, I'm doing wonderfully well. How about yourself?
Well, I got to ask you a question, Doctor. You know, because I've been there's a lot of buzz going around of your lectures, your meeting all over the place. You're the hottest thing now on the net. Especially with the anti-Mac Daddy crowd. And everybody's talking about you. My inbox is full of Dr. Garrow, Dr. Garrow, Dr. Garrow, Dr. Garrow, former CIA agent. So my question to you, Dr. Garrow, is, listen, you've been on the Manning Report at least 20 times. Were you a CIA agent then, and were you spying on me, Dr. Garrow? It's what I want to know, and I want the whole world to know what your answer is right now.
Pastor, you know I love you. I do. I just love you to pieces. And I have never spied on you, sir. I have been your friend because I am your friend.
Okay, I'll accept that. I'll accept that, and I believe it is absolute genuine. In fact, I would have detected something. I always suspected that you were an unusual person. First of all, your extraordinary intellect always just amazed me. But your compassion, you seemed. I mean, even in talking about the Pink Pagoda and your work. Was extremely genuine. But tell us now, you believe that there's going to be another attack in America, something on the order of 9/11. That's what everybody's sending me emails about. I mean, I can't open up my box without 1,000 of them falling out. What is it that you believe is going to happen next, Doctor?
Well, let me put it in context, though, first. Because I've been privy to certain information that comes from sources that aren't always available to the general public, those folks have now, since I've been outed and am no longer part of the federal government, they're now sending me information as it happens in real time, knowing that I will spread the word, knowing that I will lay my life on the line, really, and putting out cautionary tales, if you want to call it that, to the public. But what's come recently is, as a result of something that happened in San Antonio, really, facial recognition software is available and is used by our government. And do you remember that 5 Osama bin Laden types were released by Mr. Obama and sent back to their home countries? These are terrorists, acknowledged terrorists. One of them turned up again back in America just recently, and this prompted the action that this person took in sending to me an acknowledgement that a program is now obviously in place whereby jihadis are flooding into the United States through that porous southern border, and they're establishing themselves. But they have enough information to suggest that over 100 malls in America have been scouted out, reconnoitered by these folks. Of course, the intention of these people, and especially this one person who really sent the flags up the flagpole, who was a bomb specialist. And here he is, he's in America, and now there are thousands of jihadis in America, and they are known to be part of teams. And having, discovered that over 100 malls have been selected, have been watched, have been viewed, we know that Nairobi, Kenya, the attack on the mall, the very American mall there, was a precursor, was a test for the kinds of attack that they're thinking of for American malls here. It took the troops 2 full weeks, after the initial slaughter of 150 people. It took them 2 weeks to get rid of these jihadis.
That's right. That's right. It did. Yeah, that's chilling. That's a chilling scenario. But go ahead. Pardon my interruption, sir. Continue.
No, absolutely no problem. The urgency here is that we must be alert. When you look at the training that's being done, look at the billions of dollars that are going through the Department of Homeland Security. Where is it finding its way into the practical day-to-day existence of everyday America? It isn't. It's being given to silly things like MRAPs that are supposed to captivate the loyalties of chiefs of police and sheriffs locally, and give them a split loyalty, take their loyalty away from the neighborhood and the locale that employs them and give it back over to the federal government. They're trying to win the hearts and minds of law enforcement all over that will fall into their pattern and follow their clear direction. So that's what's happening on the one side. And yet we know full well that the softest of soft targets, other than schools, is the very place where we go to shop and relax, and those are shopping malls. And we have thousands of them in America. But to know full well that they've been reconnoitered, that these people are putting programs and plans together, now the personnel are in place. We know that shoulder-fired missiles and other armament has been shipped across the southern border. When all of these things are put together by the professionals, they're saying, wait a minute, let's get the word out to the public, because obviously DHS and others, including Mr. Obama, they are not clearly on the side of safeguarding American civilians.
Well, I was very alarmed at the release of the 5 Osama bin Laden types, and they were supposed to be under security, I think, of Qatar, of all places. And now we have your report that one has returned. And also, I think you stirred something a few moments ago when you made mention of the attack on that shopping mall in Kenya, and how long it took to resolve that issue. And I don't know whether or not they ever were able to capture all the persons that were involved in that process as that pandemonium broke out. And I guess you can update us on that. But what I want to ask after referencing those things is, well, then how soon do you perceive that this could happen? And I can't imagine why it's not going to happen, but what's your estimation of time and where and location?
You know, I really can't speak to it. We don't know the timing.
When you say we, what do you mean we don't know? Are you talking about, are you just speaking third person? Or are you speaking about a group that's associated with you?
There are groups of people who I have dealt with over the years who trust me and understand my loyalties and my patriotism without question. And many of these people, their lives have depended on me, so they know that I can be depended on. So when I say we, I'm referencing a group of people who I've worked with in the past, who, if I put something out like this, they know full well, A, it's true, and B, that we should be moving in the direction of safeguarding American civilians. So this is a clear warning. The information is impeccable, the source. I would trust with my life 100%.
Well, let me ask you this, using your intelligence experience. 9/11 changed our world forever. You can't go into a large building in America, especially here in New York, without some sort of security check down. The TSA at the airports, just a number of things that are in place now that are never going to be reverted. However, what will happen, and just using your prophetic intelligence understanding, if a major mall, there's some major malls in the Northwest, Minnesota area, there's one huge one, and they're all over America. They're down in Texas, Florida. How would that, and then my other question is, I'm forming this question is, if the Osama bin Laden paradigm is employed, that is to say, there were 4 attacks, one in Washington, one in the 2 World Trade Centers, and I forget what the 4th person was, but the place was, but then using the Osama bin Laden paradigm, then it wouldn't just be one malls, it would be a series of malls, like it was in Tanzania, like in Kenya rather, when the embassies were attacked simultaneously, if you follow that event as well.
Yes, no, that's good reasoning. That will be what will happen. The notion that it'll be one is wrong. It'll be, as I said, probably 100. Now that's a large number. But beyond that itself, those events would be horribly tragic. And they would go on and on for weeks, as they tried to dig these people out. Once they entrenched themselves and found their spots all over the mall and wreaked havoc and caused huge numbers in death. But beyond that, what is the other purpose of that? Creating terror is one thing. Creating a sense of insecurity all across America that no one is safe anywhere, that's another thing. But I'm being convinced more even today, with new information coming forward, that in fact, when they do that, there's another purpose. As all of America focuses in on that, there's something else that they're going to plan as well. So they
And
are.
what would that be? What would that
I'm
be?
sorry?
What would that be?
I can't say, but it would be quite large. It would be quite big. Keep in mind too that they always have in mind dates that are significant in Islam. For example, 9/11. You know that was the source of great hurt in the Islamic world when the gates of Vienna would not fall and the defense of Vienna beat back the Islamic hordes. And that's September 11th. So let's keep in mind that they have specific dates. Everything is about, sending a message and reflecting back on their own history.
It appears that our legislative branch and judicial branch take no strong measures against the Mac Daddy. This is the most quizzical thing I think we've ever experienced in politics in terms of the fact that so many illegal things could be going on and yet they don't get challenged. And when there is a talk of an impeachment, it's about a part of the health care bill that violates executive privilege or constitutional law. My question is, if you know this, does the Senate Intelligence Committee know the same thing? Does Dianne Feinstein have the same roots of information that you have? Does the Congressional Intelligence Committee have access to this information? And if so, are we looking at a sellout of our nation? Because my thing, if 100 malls are hit, we got martial law for 25 years. I mean, there's no way we could recover from that.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. That will be the purpose behind the lack of flow of information to appropriate people. I've made it available to the people that I've worked with in the past, but we know this. This is actionable intelligence. Nothing is being done directly as a response to this, which says to me that there's collusion here on the other side. There are people, of course, as you know, Mr. Obama, he can taste it. He wants to be able to have a triggering event that will give him the necessary then ingredients to invoke martial law across the nation. He dreams of this. So this would be the kind of thing that would provide him with just what he's after.
And if martial law was invoked, let's say, this is 2014, it's, August. 2015, we had a 9/11, 100 malls. There would be no 2016 election because the actual fallout from that would be martial law, and it would take us years and years and years and years to recover from such. So we wouldn't have a new president for quite some time as well. And I heard you also state, Dr. Guerra, that this man dreams of an event like this. I'm checking. Are you quite serious? Are you willing to make this as a statement that he actually harbors this happening to America in his heart? That he dreams of it? That it's a wondrous thing that he would happen? Is that what you're saying?
The man is a Muslim. He's the servant of those people who set him up. Years ago, it was the Saudis who paved the way through money and opportunity and doors open for this man. There were 7 others too, Pastor. 7 others at the same time who were being groomed to could have been the Obama. Now it ends up being Barry Soetoro himself, but all of this was orchestrated. This goes back to 1979 and an article by Vernon Jarrett in the Chicago Tribune where he posited the question to the Arabs that they should be using, if they were wise, they should be using their dollars, their riches, to enter the black community and thereby raise up hopeful Muslim Marxists who would be at their beck and call over the years to come. He posited that, and if you listen to the last name again, Jarrett,
I heard that.
Father-in-law. It's the father-in-law of Valerie.
Valerie, yes, absolutely. But, you also stated that, according to your information, that there is no response to the fact that this jihadist has re-entered America, facial recognition has picked him up, and that there is this chatter about malls as the target of desire to attack America again. But you're clear that there's no official response from the Pentagon, from DHS, from any place else, that this goes unchallenged.
Yes, we've placed it in the hands of people in responsible positions, people that we would trust, who would then turn it over to people within the proper confines, whether DHS or FBI or whoever it might be. And right now, we have heard nothing. Now, I've got to say this, Pastor. In the last few years, I've had contact with a number of presidents. Of course, over the years, we've provided information directly to the White House. But in the last little while, I've had 3 presidents, former presidents, phone me for elucidation on certain things that were going on, because Mr. Obama has broken with the tradition of a current president allowing information to flow back to previous presidents in order that, the brain of these folks who have different contacts, who have doors open to them all over the world that might not be available to a current president, this isn't happening. This has been the norm in the past. Every other president, these other 3, for example, the 3 previous to Mr. Obama, have referred to one another over time and shared intelligence. And it's just a wise thing to do. Mr. Obama has a wall. There has been a wall of separation between the previous administrations and himself. And of course, we know that Valerie Jarrett is very much in control behind Mr. Obama.
I want to talk about that wall, but before I get there, my listeners would crucify me if I would not ask you who were the other 6 proteges, candidates, trainees that Mr. Barry Soetoro won out over, if that's possible to talk about that.
I can talk about it only in generality. I can't name them. And I've got to say this, there were a total of 8, so there were 7 others plus Barry Soetoro. But all the others are dead. They're all gone. Every one of them has left the planet and gone on to meet their makers. So these people do not have loose ends. And if you look at the career of Barry Soetoro, you see that there is death all over the place. People who got close to him, close to exposing him, died. And I think his
grandmother died, for crying out loud, and was yes. Ashes were thrown over the Hawaiian Bay. Yeah, so you're right. Anybody gets close to this fella. The fist bumper might be next, but go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No problem. But even there, the DNA testing done by the CIA of the parents, the grandparents, showed no DNA match to Barry Soetoro at all. So we're talking about a false narrative, and that's what the other 7. It was all about false narratives created to put people in position with falsehood, with lies, to underpin them as possible choices that might fit this agenda that Vernon Jarrett outlined in that 1979 article.
I have a friend who lives in Phoenix. His name is Dr. Lau Ripaki of Sentinel Intelligence Services. He attended the CIA Columbia Obama Sedition and Treason trial, and he's been with me at several other events. He wants to get a chance to meet you. He very well may be listening now, so I wanted to at least let you know that I've known him for several years. But going back to this issue of the wall that Barry has set up, which breaks precedent with every other president, because there needs to be a continuity and flow of information with every living president. But he has put up a wall where there is no flow going back or forward. Why would he do that? Wouldn't it be advantageous to him to be able to have the access to Bush, to Clinton, and to old man Bush?
Yeah, it would. It would seem that it would be a natural, it would be a wise thing to do. But the people who handle Mr. Obama know full well that they need to control him totally. And so the strings that are being pulled on him obviate this, what would seem to be a wise thing to do, which would be to share information and then reach into the wellspring of information that these other presidents have developed over time. But this man is an isolate. He's an ideologue, and other ideologies don't flow in his direction. Keep in mind that we're dealing with a man who claimed to be a Christian, and yet there was no evidence of real Christianity. There was no spirit in him that would speak to his Christianity.
Would George G.W., would he been made privy to these 8 persons, or more specifically to Barry Soetoro, With George Tenet, the head of the CIA at the time, would they have been made privy to this, or would the CIA or the handlers of Barry kept this information from the then President George Bush about who Barry is and what our future will become as a result of the fact this man is a hardcore Muslim and he's set for the destruction of America? Would they have known about that?
They would have. In 2001, I was asked to go and meet with a fellow named Mark Okoth Obama DeSanjo in Shenzhen, China. Here was an American citizen who had been born, of course, in Africa, but showed up on the radar of agencies working in foreign lands, and I was asked to go meet him and befriend him, which I did. And in fact, I hired him. He was a pianist, quite a good pianist. He was playing in the Marriott Hotel bar, as a matter of fact, when I met him. And I hired him to do a couple of gigs for our staff, for our teachers, in the schools that I have in China. So we had a few schools in Shenzhen. But from that, we learned that this man had a friendship with the intelligence, a general in charge of the intelligence agencies within the People's Liberation Army of China. And they were setting up, this is what Mark was doing with this general, they were setting up a chain of internet cafes all across China. And it is from those cafes that the Pentagon has been attacked, the State Department has been attacked, banking institutions, Wall Street have been attacked from those very centers of internet across China that are owned by, in partnership, by Mark Obama DeSanjo and the People's Liberation Army Intelligence Services.
Dr. Garrow, thank you so very much for being our guest today. Our time is up. I pray to be able to further discuss this matter as more developments, if you get them. I'd love to be able to tap you to see what recent developments have happened in this ongoing process. Before we disengage, if people want to contact you, or as does Dr. Ripacki or others want to speak with you, or if they want to have you speak at some gathering that they may be a part of, how would they do that? And where are you speaking at most recently?
Well, most recently was Holdenville, Oklahoma, where I had just a marvelous time with wonderful Christian folks, Christian patriots. If you want to find out a little bit more, look on Facebook at Dr. Jim Garrow or Jim Garrow and Facebook sites. And I put up information every day. I analyze articles and speak what the Lord puts in my heart. And, Pastor, I got to say this. You are such an encouragement to so many. Keep it up, sir. Keep it up.
Thank you for those words, and thank you for all that you do. And it's been an extraordinary honor to have you on the broadcast today. And I'm honored to know you. Thank you for all of what you knew and understood when I was just emerging back in 2008 and 2010. You came to my aid and assisted me and encouraged me. I will never forget that, and I pray that America never forgets. And those who remember your assistance, even though you were an agent, you were very encouraging, as you were today as well. Thank you, Dr. Garrow.
Praise God.
Praise God.
Reconnoitered by these folks, of course, the intention of these people, and especially this one person who really sent the flags up the flagpole, who was a bomb specialist. And here he is, he's in America, and now there are thousands of jihadis in America, and they are known to be part of teams. And having, discovered that over 100 malls have been selected, have been watched, have been viewed, we know that Nairobi, Kenya, the attack on the mall, the very American mall there, was a precursor, was a test for the kinds of attack that they're thinking of for American malls here. It took the troops 2 full weeks after the initial slaughter of 150 people. It took them 2 weeks to get rid of
another attack in America, something on the order of 9/11. That's what everybody's sending me emails about. I mean, I can't open up my box without 1,000 of them falling out. What is it that you believe is going to happen next, Doctor?
Well, let me put it in context though first, because I've been privy to certain information that comes from sources that aren't always available to the general public. Those folks have now, since I've been outed and am no longer part of the federal government, they're now sending me information as it happens in real time, knowing that I will spread the word, knowing that I will lay my life on the line, really, and putting out cautionary tales, if you want to call it that, to the public. But what's come recently,
I've got a very special and honored guest on the line with us today, and the person of Dr. Jim Garrow. Dr. Garrow, how are you, sir?
Pastor Manning, I'm doing wonderfully well. How about yourself?
Well, I got to ask you a question, doctor, because I've been, there's a lot of buzz going around of your lectures, your meeting all over the place. You're the hottest thing now on the net, especially with the anti-Mac Daddy crowd. And everybody's talking about you. My inbox is full of Dr. Garrow, Dr. Garrow, Dr. Garrow, Dr. Garrow, former CIA agent. So my question to you, Dr. Garrow, is, listen, you've been on the Manning Report at least 20 times. Were you a CIA agent then, and were you spying on me, Dr. Garrow? It's what I want to know, and I want the whole world to know what your answer is right now.
Pastor, you know I love you. I do. I just love you to pieces. And I have never spied on you, sir. I have been your friend because I am your friend.
Okay, I'll accept that. I'll accept that, and I believe it is absolute genuine. In fact, I would have detected something. I always suspected that you were an unusual person. First of all, your extraordinary intellect always just amazed me. But your compassion, you seemed. I mean, even in talking about the Pink Pagoda and your work. Was extremely genuine. But tell us now, you believe that there's going to be...
is as a result of something that happened in San Antonio, really. Facial recognition software is available and is used by our government. And do you remember that 5 Osama bin Laden types were released by Mr. Obama and sent back to their home countries? These are terrorists, acknowledged terrorists. One of them turned up again back in America just recently, and this prompted the action that this person took in sending to me an acknowledgement that a program is now obviously in place whereby jihadis are flooding into the United States through that porous southern border, and they're establishing themselves. But they have enough information to suggest that over 100 malls in America have been scouted out.